Join me and my son William as we head across the Northumberland Strait to Nova Scotia, where Highland adventure awaits. We travel from our home in PEI to the Cape Breton Highlands, where we camped 3 glorious nights in spectacular Meat Cove campground, drove the world-famous Cabot Trail. We hiked a bunch of trails and ate some great meals. Well, I'd been wanting to revisit Cape Breton, Meat Cove in particular, for a good number of years, but this year an opportunity presented itself to plan a return trip. I really wanted to set up a base camp at the Meat Cove campground and explore an adventure from there. It took William a bit of convincing that it would be a cool trip and that the trip would be fun, but eventually he caved in to peer pressure. We planned to head out the last weekend of August, and we intended to hike a bunch of trails in the Cape Breton Highlands Park and to explore a whole day in the Meat Cove area. One of the things William wanted to do was take the ferry over to Nova Scotia from Prince Edward Island. Basically, we had 2 goals in mind for our trip. Number 1, listen to the entire Korn discography on our trip while we were driving from my CD collection, a goal that we did accomplish about an hour before we returned home to PEI, and explore as much of the Cape Breton Highlands as time would allow, which we also accomplished. I love to take the ferry, but I rarely do. Time-wise, it's about the same, and cost-wise, the boat costs more money than taking the bridge, but you do save on gas from driving around. It was really fun to take it again this time. Well, it's early in the morning. We got the first boat, 7 a.m. A little breezy out here on the water. Sun is up. Ready to start our adventure in Cape Breton. William's so excited he cannot even smile. Oh, almost. Careful, there's cracks forming. Cracks forming in his cheeks. As the ferry slid into the dock on mainland Nova Scotia, we were excited to get the next part of the trip underway. It was about a 3-hour drive from the ferry to the Cape Breton Highlands. Once we got to the Cabot Trail in Cape Breton, we saw lots of signs referring to the Cabot Trail as world famous. It was easy to see why it has a global reputation. The drive as you enter Cape Breton Highlands National Park is amazing. Rocky coastal views are abundant as you drive the steep incline and decline roads, twisting and turning like a real-life roller coaster. We planned to hike the Skyline Trail first in the park, but it was full and closed. Once the 200-car parking lot is full, then traffic has refused entrance, so we went on ahead to French Lake and ate our lunch before returning. So many people. So many. I had planned to hike 2 trails on the way through the park to Meat Cove campground. First, the Skyline Trail, and secondly, the Aspie Trail. The 8.2 kilometer Skyline Trail loop is mostly a gravel trail that takes you out on a high headland overlooking the ocean. On the headland, there's a long boardwalk trail that drops as you travel farther and farther into the ocean. From the headland, you can see the spectacular Cabot Trail Highway as it makes its winding way up French Mountain, and you can see out into the Atlantic Ocean on the other side. We could see people walking on the ridge while we came up the highway towards the trailhead. It is said that you can sometimes see whales from the height of land. This was not the first time that I had done the trail, but it was William's first time. The views from the headland are spectacular. While we were out on the headland, it began to rain as was forecasted. The wind whipped the tiny droplets around, but the day was warm, so it was no big deal. We poked around and had some fun exploring the different vistas from the boardwalk, taking pictures, and dodging the crowd when we could. We made our way back out the gravel trail, disappointed that we didn't see any whales or moose, but happy for the views that we did see. We jumped in the car and continued on our journey towards Meat Cove along the Cabot Trail through the Cape Breton Highlands National Park. The spectacular views didn't end with the Skyline Trail, however. Look-off after look-off after look-off offer up incredible perspectives of the national park coastline, hinting at the promise of adventure waiting at every trailhead. The panoramic view is just amazing, like. I realized that time was slipping by quickly and we would not have time to do the 9.6 kilometer Aspie Trail before heading out of the park for Meat Cove, so we decided to do the Macintosh Brook Trail instead, a 1.7 kilometer waterfall trail that I had planned to do Monday on our return trip home.
Hims is dead.
I have to edit that in.
Which way do we go? Oh, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Which way do we go, William?
I say bridge.
I say bridge, you say bridge, we say bridge. I think it's the bridge.
Ooh. I like that.
Me too. Sometimes the easy trails are pretty awesome.
Macintosh Brook was a very cool trail. It was rooty and rough, but only a gentle incline. The trail follows the Macintosh Brook to a waterfall. As usual, I loved hearing the water babble in the stream, continually getting louder as we approached the falls. The waterfall did not disappoint. It was a good-sized fall running strong.
Woo-wee, woo-wee.
Just when we were about to turn around and head back to the car like normal people, we spotted a rough, steep trail going up the side of a cliff. Upon discovering, William began scrambling up the trail to see where it went to. Were we in for a surprise discovery? At the top of the cliff, the trail led farther upstream above the waterfall. We initially came out above a small canyon of sorts where we were able to watch the water rush and cascade over the rocks on its way to the main waterfall. But as we explored further, we discovered a deep gully with another small waterfall. After these falls were rapids splashing over large rocks and pools. William and I both knelt down and submerged our hair in the cold spring water after a warm summer day of traveling. It was very refreshing.
Man, this is cool.
We made our way back to the car, and hiking finished for the day, we headed to Meat Cove Campground, where we were planning to camp for 3 nights. Well, campsite is crowded. It started to rain and rained real good just when I got the tent on the ground. So it was a mad scramble to get the tent up. There was a bit of growling, but not too much. Anyway, tent's up. It's getting late. I'm glad that we decided not to do Aspie today. Let's make some supper. Well, that's the full arch rainbow right there. That is awesome. Oh. And we are supposed to have a fire and do some beans with some cooked wieners. There's the old camp stove on the fire, but the rain is probably preventing us from having much of a fire, so we're boiling them all in together and having some yummies. Our first day of adventure over, we had a restless night's sleep in the tent as it poured rain most of the night. The tent leaked a little bit, but only over my head. William and I slid around quite a bit all night long as the ground that the tent was pitched on was quite sloped. We awoke to a beautiful Saturday morning though, and we were ready for a great day exploring Meat Cove. And what a day it was.